It's to no one's surprise that Marvel Rivals has captured the attention of millions of gamers across the globe. I, among other gamers, have been searching for a new game that could create as much excitement as the original Call of Duty, Overwatch, and even the original days of Fortnite created when they were at their peak. Has Marvel Rivals found the secret formula to keep us coming back for more? Or is it just another title riding the coattails of Marvel's massive popularity? Today, we'll break it all down: gameplay, graphics, mechanics, and whether it has what it takes to dominate the gaming world like the legends before it did. The only prior experience that I have when it comes to the hero shooter genre, it would be maybe playing 1 or 2 games with one of my friends on Overwatch 2 when they forced me to download the game on the Blizzard client when I was already playing World of Warcraft at the time. That's besides the point. The game itself was fun. No! No! Yes!
No!
Yes!
Oh!
But to be fair, my limited exposure with that game probably overall skewed my perception of how a hero shooter is supposed to work as a game and what certain roles are supposed to do based on the situation that your game currently is presenting. I've found to be very interesting as a mechanic that I've never really been exposed to, other than I could probably say maybe Counter-Strike or Valorant could be an example of a game that kind of has similar mechanics of whether or not you want to counterpick to counter the enemy's team. I really enjoy it as a mechanic, and also it's one of those things where it requires a lot of team coordination, and which for the most part in this game sometimes can often be a struggle, especially if you do play solo queue. But I think with this game, when you get into a group with your friends, it is one of the most fun games that exists currently. This leads me into the topic of character design and how this game has pretty much flawlessly implemented a lot of the characters throughout the Marvel universe in ways that how a Marvel fan could see their favorite hero in this video game and directly relate it to their favorite comic book growing up. The fact that you can log onto this game and play Iron Man or play Spiderman or play the Hulk, Magneto, Doctor Strange, or play Storm, I think just goes to show you that the developers of this game really thought about almost every aspect of how somebody would approach this game and want to play it, either via a melee character, a ranged character, somebody that gets up close to you and is brawling with a shield, somebody that is sniping at you from a range, or you have somebody that is able to provide immunity for the entire team just by dancing on them. I think it leads to very interesting gameplay, and with every match it feels different. It's not a Call of Duty match where you load into the same map and pick the same gun and have to go up against the same exact thing every single time. Yeah, there's gonna be team comps that arise that are going to become the quote-unquote meta, but for the most part, you can pick a character in this game and be confident that you can contribute as long as you're doing everything that you need to do mechanically and just putting your best foot forward. There's obviously going to be times when you're not doing that great, and that's okay. We're all humans. We all have bad games, so try to not let that affect you. And if you want to try to correct some of those mistakes, what this game offers, which I think is one of the best features out of any game that I've played recently, is their theater mode, which allows you to go back into the game and watch in depth how you are playing and what you're doing during the game, what your teammates are doing during the game, your positioning throughout the match, and when you are getting downs and when you are getting eliminations, and also when you are dying, because a lot of key information I would say in this game is kind of, I would say, gotten from watching your VOD back and understanding when you died and what you could have done better in that situation. Sometimes there's a lot of times where there's nothing that you could have done and other times there's maybe a couple things that you could have done differently that would have made the situation a lot easier for you to survive and maybe win that team fight. Throughout my journey of learning how to play Marvel Rivals, I've fallen in love with multiple different characters because of how unique some of their playstyles can be. The first character that I want to speak about is the first character that I really gravitated towards when I first started playing Marvel, and this was
Sit the fuck down!
Panther has one of those unique skill sets in this game where it requires you to not only focus on your mechanical input, but also understand how the game works from another player's perspective. What routes are they taking? Where are they usually going to be positioning? Where you can catch them off guard? What off angles you can take to potentially to go in for a dive on a character? Learning how to play Panther really teaches you how to go about engaging your opponents and what characters in the game are better to engage versus what opponents you probably shouldn't engage up front. For reference, Panther is what people in this game refer to as a dive character, someone who uses an assassin-like playstyle where they go in for a kill on an enemy squishy and get out quickly. Basically, with Panther, you want to dive the enemy's back line, try to kill their healers, or essentially get their entire enemy team to turn around and give your team the opportunity to take space because they're going to be focused on you trying to take out their healers. Recently got Lord on Bucky, and can I say how fun of a character he is? From his fight-winning ultimate to insane burst damage to his ability to just shut down certain characters. Not only does Winter Soldier offer an immense amount of pressure through grabbing his enemies with his bionic hook, but essentially what you can do with the Winter Soldier is displace the enemy away from their team, allowing your team to get a quick down on an unexpected opponent. Usually it's a tank, or sometimes it could be an unsuspecting support member that is caught out of position. With the combo of his bionic hook and his uppercut, you're able to push the opponent further back into your team. And say you have a Groot on your team, your Groot is able to place a wall in between your team and the enemy's healers, and essentially you're able to just insta kill whoever you're able to grab and take back into your group, kind of like a Wolverine would. This essentially nullifies any sort of push that an opponent would have, any sort of pressure that they're trying to gain, momentum. It basically shuts that down and requires them to do a reset, especially if they only have one tank and you do it to their tank. Bucky also excels at shutting down dive characters. His passive ability to gain shield whenever he uses an ability makes him one of the strongest close to medium range duelists in the game. Spider-Man is hands down my favorite character in the game. His movement can be unmatched at times. His ability to traverse the map in seconds is honestly one of those things in this game that I really enjoy, because unlike other characters, Spider-Man is just one of the most highly mobile characters in the game, and I can appreciate it because a lot of his mobility comes with your personal playtime and personal skill that you kind of developed over time when you're playing this character. And the better you get at this character, the more time that you play, the more routes that you're going to learn that kind of allow you to get back into the fight as quickly as possible, which is really enjoyable for me. Spider-Man is what I would call an opportunistic dive character. His ability to get in and get out is unmatched, and it's unlike any other character. He's not one to be on the front line fighting. That's not how he was designed. I've had the most success on him by targeting players who my teammates initially do damage to. This allows Spider-Man to land more consistent one-shots without the Venom buff. Now, with the Venom buff, Spider-Man turns into one of the scariest dive characters in the game. Why is that, you might ask? Because with the Venom team up, he essentially infuses himself with the symbiote, allowing him to easily one-shot anyone who is under 250 HP when you dive on them and you do the one-shot combo. While it is still possible to get a one-shot on an enemy, it is a lot harder to do it without the Venom team up, because you have to time your dives with your other DPS and also have to keep an eye out for when your DPS are doing damage to specific targets. And what you can actually do is try to coordinate with your team and try to say, hey, try to target so and so, and I will dive them at the same time you guys are targeting them, so it's an easy one shot for everyone. And it's basically just going through the team one by one and just swinging in, uppercutting, swinging out, swinging in, hitting them with an overhead swing, uppercutting, and swinging out. A lot of Spider-Man's gameplay is very quick, very fast. You want to get in, get out, and just kind of be like an assassin-like player. Loki is hands down my favorite strategist. I thought it was Mantis at first, before I learned how incredible Loki could be. I wouldn't classify Loki necessarily as a healer, but more as a disruptive character. Being able to go invisible provides so much opportunity to create chaos amongst the battlefield. Being able to create 2 clones of himself instantly increases his damage or healing output, and it allows for some really interesting plays that you can pull off with Loki. Not to mention the sheer fact that Loki has one of the strongest non-ultimate abilities in the game with his runes. He's able to place on the ground that provide a zone of immunity for anyone who is stepping inside of them, unless the enemy, of course, destroys the rune. These runes not only place directly at your feet, but you can place a clone quickly and pop the rune on a tank far away and give that tank a zone of immunity to protect them or save them essentially. So quick thinking and good timing can essentially save a teammate who is close to death by placing a clone next to them and activating the rune for them to hopefully stand in. I say hopefully because I usually play solo queue and it's a 50-50 shot on whether or not someone's going to stand in the rune or not. I haven't even gotten to my favorite part about Loki, his ultimate. He is able to copy any character's ultimate in the game and essentially turn the tide of a battle. You can either copy a support ult or you can be a little bit more aggressive and copy a game-winning ultimate such as a storm ult. With his ultimate, it's all about reading the flow of the battlefield and just trying to base your decision off of that to hopefully win you the game. Overall, I would say Marvel Rivals has definitely executed on where they were trying to perform in categories that the gaming world kind of needed, and they answered that, which is awesome because there's been so many shitty games recently, and it's nice to finally play a game that has kind of captured my attention.